right. Hello. We are here for episode 5 of the Creative Wellness series, and I'm very excited and honored to have Taryn Strong with us today. Thank you so much, Taryn, for being here.
It's my absolute honor and pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Today, we're going to be talking about how yoga can support health and healing. And I just wanted to introduce Taryn. So Taryn is a trauma-informed yoga therapist and also a recovery coach and a herbalist or aromatherapist, I guess I should say. You use a
Oh,
lot of that stuff. Both. Okay,
yeah.
wonderful. And the founder of the She Recovers Foundation. Yeah, and so Taryn actually was my first yoga instructor when I moved from Alberta to BC. And I just right away was like, this woman is a gem. And it was really special to be a part of your classes, Taryn. So thank you so much for being here. And I really want to hear about She Recovers. Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I remember those yoga classes and they were so great. I loved it. It would be your mom and sometimes your brother would join too, right? Yeah. I
Yes.
loved it. It was such a special time. So thanks for being there. So the She Recovers Foundation, it's a passion project that my mom and I started 10 years ago. It's going to be our 10-year anniversary in June.
Wow.
And it's just like I said, it's a passion project that we started. And our intention was let's start a Facebook page where we can share resources and inspiration for women in recovery. Because my mom and I, we both identify as being in recovery from substance use disorder, trauma, disordered eating, grief, codependency, all the things. So we wanted to have this Facebook page where women recovering from all different things could find inspiration. Because what we say is we're all recovering from something. So some of us are recovering from maybe substance use disorder. Other people have eating disorders. Other people have anxiety, depression, etc. And we just wanted a place where all these women could gather. Because even though all of our stories are different, typically the core and the essence of what we're experiencing is the same. We're just all on this path of healing, right? So we started a Facebook page because 10 years ago is when inspirational memes were becoming popular. So we'd post a pretty picture with a quote. And that was really all our intention was to be. We had other jobs. I was a yoga teacher, and it just really grew organically. And because I'm a trauma informed yoga teacher, we thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to do a retreat for women in recovery where we could all be together in person? So we're not just online anymore, we're in person. And we had our first retreat, and it was just so life changing for everybody. So that evolved to 10 years later, fast forward to today, where pre pandemic, we do retreats, we do events, workshops, and conferences. I can't wait for us to be able to be together again and do those in person.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
when the pandemic hit, we shifted everything to online. So we offer free Zoom gatherings. I offer the She Recovers Trauma Informed Yoga Teacher training online. We offer free trauma informed yoga online via Zoom. So everything's online right now. And last year, we received our public charity status as well. We applied for it forever ago and we finally got it. So we're really excited to be pivoting and to be a nonprofit now, which is really exciting because we're just going to try to get as much funding as we can so we can help as many women as possible and non-binary individuals as well, because we just want to make sure that recovery and healing resources are accessible to everybody regardless of their background.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's so exciting to see the growth throughout all of the years. And I didn't even know much about your vision, you and your mom's vision when we first met, but to see it unfold, it's just really beautiful. And yeah, just following along in social media, there's so many powerful stories of people who have been very touched by the work that you do. So what do you think that yoga has to offer in terms of health and healing? And particularly in mental health and addictions type stuff that's going on.
Totally. Yeah, gosh, I love this question, and it's something that I could talk about for days and days and days. It's a passion for me because I've just had such profound healing experiences
Mhm.
from introducing yoga to my recovery pathway and patchwork. So I think that yoga is really important. I mean, any type of movement is really important because I really believe that a holistic approach to healing is key. For me in my own journey, for so long I was just focusing on healing my mind, right? I had a therapist. I actually had a few therapists.
Mhm.
What we knew back then when I was a 16-year-old drug addict in recovery were 12-step programs, but I wasn't resonating with the 12-step thing, but I really was trying to heal my mind and my spirit. And then I found yoga when I was 18. And for me, that was just the missing link. I realized that we also need to address our body. It needs to be a body, mind, and spirit healing to really have like true, deep, transformational healing, in my opinion. So, yoga is really beautiful and it's a great complement because of so many different reasons. First of all, because this is something that has really been indigenous knowledge and forever, but is now, scientists have their fancy ways of sharing this information. We store trauma in our bodies, right? Like anything that happens to us, good or bad, we store in our bodies. So I can go to my therapist and I can talk and talk and talk and talk about a traumatic situation. And of course, I'm going to get lots of healing from that. It's going to help. But my nervous system and my body need to be able to release it as well. So yoga can be a really beautiful complement and way to do that. One of my teachers, Peter Levine, he says that trauma is in the nervous system, it's not in the event. So with movement like yoga, we have this opportunity to connect with our breath, which is a pathway to our nervous system, which can help us in a really soft, gentle way release any stored trauma or stagnation or residue from any stress. It doesn't have to be anything traumatic, but just even any accumulated stress in our body, we have an opportunity to release it with our movement and with our breath work. There's also such great studies right now showing about, trauma and those types of chronic stress really affects our brain. And what we now know is that with especially a trauma informed approach to yoga, we have the ability to, I mean, with all sorts of different modalities, but yoga is one of them, to rewire our brain. And the pathways and the parts of our brain that get muddy, they really start to clear and heal with a somatic practice. So those are just a few of the reasons, but there are many.
Yeah, I'm sure you could talk about it for a while. That's a really nice synopsis, though, Taryn. And what I really appreciate is, as an expressive arts practitioner, I use a bit of movement. And when I'm doing things in person with someone, sometimes even some dance, which is a similar sort of, it's connecting all, the mind, the body, the emotions, the spirit. It's all integrated. And it's amazing how much, I don't even want to say quicker, but the process is more pronounced than when you're just dealing with one or the other. What gets you to the mat each day?
Hmm. What gets me to the mat every day is that I know that no matter what I'm experiencing, I am going to experience a shift from just a few moments on the mat.
Mhm.
So, regardless of what's going on, it's like every single time yoga works for me. Every single time. Sometimes, and this is what I love about yoga. I remember for the first while when I was practicing, I had this idea that every time I practiced yoga, by the end of the class, I was just supposed to feel happy and joyful and peaceful and grounded. But what was actually my experience sometimes was after I practiced yoga, I was actually full of quite a bit of rage and anger. And then I later, of course, learned in my studies that it's because my yoga practice was bringing up stuff that I had been like avoiding and pushing down and repressing and numbing myself from coming to the surface, which is so beautiful because that's how we heal it, right? We feel it to heal it. So once I really allowed myself just to not judge my experience and just to use my mat as a way to truly feel and to allow myself to stop running from my feelings because my feelings aren't out to get me. Feeling them is such a such a privilege and such a pleasure to be able to feel our experience. And so I get to the mat every day because I know that I'm going to heal. And some days the things that comes up is really surprising, sometimes not so much, but I know that I can even just do one salutation and something's going to move through me that needed to move, right? So I
Mm. I'm just nodding my head as you're speaking because oftentimes when I practice yoga, I get that same sort of like kind of like angsty feeling, like crawling out of wanting to crawl out of your skin sort of thing. And I think that's a great way of highlighting actually what's going on there. And so many people who have prolonged experiences of stress, and particularly with trauma, it can just feel really unsafe to actually go there. And I do find that like the body somatic approaches are a safer way of working through that, and just like playing with it a little bit. You don't have to go too far, but just taking it one step at a time. And so yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And
um,
that's why really a trauma informed yoga practice, of course, is what I recommend. Because in a trauma informed yoga class, whoever's guiding you, they're going to be normalizing all of those experiences. Because for so long, I thought, well, I'm doing yoga wrong because I'm supposed to just be all peace, love, and light at the end of class. And right now, I am angry. So in a trauma informed yoga class, all experiences are normalized. Some people feel completely numb, right? Because they've disassociated, which is a smart, intelligent thing that our body does in certain situations. They feel disconnected, they feel numb, maybe they feel too sensitive. So, in a trauma informed yoga class, that's going to be normalized. And in a trauma informed yoga class, like you said, it's going to be a really gentle approach where I'm going to talk to somebody who's maybe curious about this. You are going to be invited to decide if there's something that you want to lean into that comes up or not. Like you have full agency of your experience. And if there is a feeling coming up that you don't want to feel, you don't have to. It's you can be like, yeah, no, I'm not today, thank you very much, and you'll have full permission to just do whatever you need to do. So
yeah.
that's really important.
Yeah, those personal boundaries in the healing is essential for sure. And that's so interesting that you bring up the point of, your trauma informed approach. I do feel like there's many yoga practitioners that are doing it that way, but I have been in classes that aren't like that. And I'm curious what you feel, if you can speak a little bit more to why you feel like that's how you practice and how that benefits your students.
Yeah, so I think, when we're working with, gosh, I mean, right now we're going through kind of a bit of a collective traumatizing experience, but when somebody is on a healing journey, and especially healing from trauma, in the traumatic situation, they didn't have agency over their body. That was taken away from them, right? And so possibly as well, a part of their experience is constantly being in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So then going to a yoga class, and this is nothing against any yoga teacher, because I didn't know until I took trauma informed yoga trainings. But then if we go to a yoga class, just like a regular drop in class, nothing wrong with them, but it could actually be quite triggering. And it could actually cause it could be triggering, I guess that's the way to put it, if there is more of a commanding type of energy in the class where someone's telling you what to do and you're feeling like you have to do these things with your body because you don't actually have agency or choice over your body. It's really important. Some classes that aren't trauma informed, teachers use hands-on adjustments, which are fine for some people, but for some people, being touched by strangers is so not okay.
Mhm.
And being able to just know that, okay, no one's going to touch me in this class is really empowering and really important, so that people can really soften into their experience and be present.
Mhm.
So those are some more examples as well.
How is yoga benefiting your students
Ah,
and your clients? And
yeah.
because you also have a one-to-one kind of program that you just started as well. I don't know if you include yoga in that, but is there an example that stands out of kind of a powerful story of how yoga helped a person through.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Yeah, I've been
Sure.
teaching since 2007, so I'm so lucky to have witnessed so many beautiful things. But I think kind of the common themes are when students express that for the first time in their life they feel safe in their own body, or for the first time in their life they have felt empowered, because and it can be something that seems simple, like it can be something as simple as in a trauma informed yoga class, somebody being given the choices to either stand up and do warrior or stay on your mat and just rest. That choice and giving somebody the container for them to have agency and decide, do I want to stand up right now or do I want to stay seated?
Mhm.
Someone will say that that's just the most empowering thing that they've ever experienced, because they didn't actually realize, they didn't know that they actually have a say in their experience in life.
Mhm.
People also will have really beautiful kind of emotional releases on the mat. So they'll just maybe be crying or laughing, and they don't know why, but it's just this, and they don't need to know why. We don't need to ever know why. Like, who knows why, but it's just this really beautiful, cathartic
Mhm.
release. But people just really say that they feel connected to themselves, and maybe for so long they just haven't trusted in themselves, they haven't trusted others, so being able to connect with their breath and their body and themselves is just so empowering and so important on a healing journey to develop that agency and trust.
Yeah, that's so important. And I really relate to those couple examples that you give, because I know there's been times where when I've been practicing yoga, you know, especially at the beginning of my yoga practice, it was it was hard being in a room full of people to not follow along with what everyone else was doing.
Yeah,
And so I think it's, really, pardon me, really common to um, initially find it hard with that sense of agency and choosing what your body really needs.
yeah,
Um, and eventually in the flow, and I think in things like the salutations and all of that, in the yoga practice, you do get a bit more rhythm in the flow, but it does take time. And those steps of growth are really beautiful to witness.
absolutely. Yeah, it really is. It's such an honor to be able to witness.
Do you sometimes I wonder if there's some misconceptions about yoga? And I'm wondering if you would talk a little bit about one of the common misconceptions.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think the one I hear the most is people thinking that they need to be flexible or strong to be able to do yoga or have a certain type of body type. And I mean, let's face it, let's be honest. In the West, yoga has been completely appropriated,
Mm.
and it has been it's been appropriated. So the kind of image that people associated in the West with yoga is like, really, really skinny white women doing all of these crazy contortions with their body on the cover of Yoga Journal, which I will say Yoga Journal's done a really beautiful job lately of showing more diversity in race and body types on the cover of their magazine. But people often will tell me, oh gosh, no, I can't touch my toes, or oh no, I can't stand on one leg. And I say, well, that's perfect reason to come, because that's why we do it, is because maybe that's something you want to be able to do one day, but that it has nothing to do with that, really. You never have to be able to touch your toes, you never have to be able to stand on one leg. Really, it's about this opportunity to, like we've talked about, just be on your mat, connect with your nervous system, which is going to help you with if you're experiencing anxiety or depression, right? It's a really great way to learn some self-regulation and some self-soothing techniques, connect with your body, and just be present, which in our days these days we have so many distractions, we have so many things coming at us. So if you could just come to your mat and for a few minutes or maybe a bit longer, just be with yourself, it has such a great ripple effect for mental health and everything beyond. But so many people have the barrier of thinking, oh gosh, I can't. And I just want to let you know that's not true.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I think I think a lot of people with some body issues, if we want to name it that way, it's really hard to get to a body based practice, like get to a class, like a yoga class, or do like dance or movement therapy in the expressive arts therapy realm, because it's like, well, no, I can't really move that way. But I know one of the things in my training for expressive arts was that really, I mean, you can be in a wheelchair and still benefit from it, and still within your kind of sphere that you are able, you can participate and get a lot out of it. And so I think that's really important, that it's for people of diverse abilities and
Absolutely.
comfort zones. So,
Yeah. And I think kind of maybe one of the silver linings of the pandemic has been that, everybody, not everybody, lots of people are offering online yoga now. So there's kind of this safety of being able to practice from the comfort of your home and not have that worry of being in a studio with other people around. And, there's kind of that self consciousness that can come up. So I think online yoga is so nice because it can just be you by yourself at home and kind of dipping your toe in a yoga practice if you want. I have students that come to my class online or in person when we do in person, and they'll come and they will just have a nap. Seriously, they will just come, and this is their time where they're like, family's gone, job's gone, phone's gone, and they will literally come and have, maybe they'll fall asleep, maybe they won't, but they just is that's their time to just be with themselves. Or I have some people that will come and do a little bit of movement or just kind of do their own thing on their mat, and that's amazing. So
mm,
just if you are curious about yoga but nervous about it, or just try an online class and see what you think.
that's
And
so
I
lovely.
will also say yoga is not for everybody, and that's okay. If it's not your thing, maybe dance is your thing, or some other type of body-based somatic movement is your thing, and try them all until you find your favorite.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's an ongoing thing in trauma recovery to be feeling that sense of, am I doing it right? Or kind of pushing yourself at times. Like those are really common themes. And I feel like yoga does a really good job of being like, if you're with a trauma-informed yoga teacher, that they're like, no, like do what you have choices. And it's really beautiful to see the clients lean into that a little bit.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And I can speak from my own personal experience. I consider myself a recovering perfectionist. So, the first for you years of me practicing yoga, I was like that person who was always trying to be the teacher's pet, doing everything the teacher was telling me, pushing my body too far. And it just, you know, that when I found a teacher that was like giving me choices and agency and options, and it was just a completely different experience for me. And just it became so much more healing for me. That was my experience, and just realizing that there's actually no goal in yoga. Like there's no perfect way to do things, there's no goal. It's a practice, and it's called a yoga practice for a reason. We're called yoga students for a reason, because it can be this lifetime journey if we want it to be, of just constantly growing and healing.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's great that you say that, because I do see, knowing you a little bit, that you are a student and you are a teacher, and that beautiful flow of like, no matter what stage of life we're in, we're all learning. No matter, how long we've been at a job, we're still learning. And so that lifelong learning, I think, is really humbling, but it's important, I
Yeah,
think.
I agree. I love it. I love being a life student. I love learning. So yoga is a great practice for me.
Yeah. Well, last question, Taryn. Any simple ways that you would recommend people to practice at home during the pandemic? You mentioned a little bit, like there are lots of yoga teachers practicing online, so that's certainly an option. But just curious, what you might suggest for that.
Yeah, I would suggest, yeah, kind of looking around and seeing if there are teachers that you resonate with. And sometimes you have to try a few until you find your teacher who you resonate with and you enjoy their voice and their style and all of those types of things. And I would say to just really maybe set a goal, let's say, of maybe trying one class and just see what you think, or maybe one class per week and see what you think, maybe upping that up over time. But there are so many great free classes on YouTube you can check out. At She Recovers, we teach a free trauma-informed yoga class every Wednesday. It's half an hour long. It's Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern. So you can join our She Recovers. You can go to our website and find out information how to join that. And there's, yeah, I would just say just give it a shot. You don't have to go out. You don't need any like yoga props or anything. If you don't have a yoga mat, that's fine. Don't run out and get one until you know that yoga is going to be your thing. If you have a carpet, great. If you have a towel, fine. Just don't worry about any of that. Just give it a shot. See how it feels.
That's great. Thank you so much, Taryn. This has been a lovely conversation about yoga and mental health, and just hearing about your practice and your journey has been really inspiring. And I'm so glad we could spend this time together.
Me too. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the awesome work that you're doing. That's so, so great. We need you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. We'll see you next time.